early 2002-ish. I was working for a company known as Adams Outdoor Advertising, and I was in Pennsylvania, and I was a sales manager for a billboard company. And I was also serving on the board of directors for a local arts council, and thinking, what am I going to do to really impact art and local artists in our community in my role as a board member? And it was like the light bulb went off. Wendy, you sell billboards. Why don't you give artists billboards? And at the time, I was not in a decision-making role. I was a sales manager. I wasn't a GM. So I took the idea to my GM and said, hey, I'm serving on this board. This is what I'd like to do to help artists in our community. Are you okay with this? And she said, go do it. So very grassroots. That's how the whole thing was born in Pennsylvania in the early 2000s. And it was very grassroots. There was no mission, there was no nonprofit, there was no ArtPop Street Gallery name. I literally would come to you and say, Michelle, if you can pay for your vinyl that wraps around the billboard, we'll put your artwork up. And so that's how the whole idea was born. And fast forward, I was transferred 5 times in my career with Adams Outdoor Advertising, and each time I would get transferred, I would recreate the program again and again in different cities. And I was living in Michigan and getting ready to transfer to Charlotte, and it was just really strong speaking to my heart. This is absolutely what you're supposed to be doing. Artists need the promotion, artists need to be seen. And so I started getting very serious about it. And when I moved to Charlotte, I literally put my suitcases into my new apartment that I rented and walked over to the Arts and Science Council in Charlotte and pitched this idea. And literally the day that I moved to Charlotte, ArtPop Street Gallery was born. The glorious thing is the very first thing that 368 times over so far, the first thing they say is how this makes them feel more confident. And I know that with confidence, you have the ability to do anything. You're bulletproof, When you feel good about yourself, you feel good about what you're creating, and somebody has validated saying, and I'm not saying that any of the stuff that didn't get in isn't good, it's just we only have so much placement. We can only serve so many artists at a time. If I could do this for every single artist, you damn right I would. But we can't do that. But when you give somebody the gift of confidence, which is where this whole thing starts from, that's pretty beautiful of then what happens to them from there, because they're feeling validated. They're feeling important. They're being seen. I have a $150,000 advertising campaign going on featuring my art. How about that? That's the good stuff. One of the things that stands out for me was a lady in Florida. We had been in a Central Florida program for a little while, and a commuter, a complete stranger, having a really crappy day, drove past one of our ArtPop billboards and looked into it because our URL is on everything. So she reached out, old-fashioned snail mail, wrote me a letter and said, I was having a pretty tough day and driving down the interstate and saw a piece of art on the billboard and just wondered why in the hell it was there and what it did for her soul. And she said, I don't have a lot of money, but here's a $15 check. And that $15 check was a pretty huge thing for this old girl. And just so proud to bring joy, even if it's just one person like that, for them to have an inspired moment, to change their day. That's huge. And for children to see this, people tell me that their kids pick this out on the highway. Like they see it and they go, look, Mom, look at that, or, whatever that might be. So for a kid who maybe they're doodling at home and think maybe they're not ever going to be able to do anything with that, to give them the inspiration to explore their gifts and talents and to know that, yes, you can too put that out there, because this isn't somebody who's wildly famous yet. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But most of our artists are up and coming. Not all of them. Some of them are extremely established. But to give somebody that hope of beauty, that hope of maybe they're going to be the next artist there, I love that.